Because we're expecting potentially a decision on the RMT's strike ballot in minutes now, and if we get it, obviously we'll bring it to you before the end of the programme. They're balloting to strike over, well, as their General Secretary Mick Lynch told me on this programme last night, pay conditions, 2,500 job losses. He says his members haven't had a pay rise for 2 years. Tan, you're luckily enough for us tonight, the Shadow Rail Minister. Is the RMT right to go on strike to get the deal it wants?
Well, the government promised just 3 months ago. What did they promise? They promised that one, they would protect existing lines. They said that also that they would be investing in rail. They would make sure that there wouldn't be any cuts. In fact, the exact opposite has happened. There have been huge cuts to rail services, including 19,000 nationwide. A lot of those impacting the north. There have been cuts to jobs, cuts to safety and maintenance checks, and also cuts to major infrastructure projects. So if the government go about trying to promise that, look, we're going to be levelling up, we're going to increase your wages, if that then doesn't transpire, then obviously the unions are going to try to get the best possible deal for their members.
And if that means striking, Tan, would you back it?
Look, what we're backing as Labour, and we've been requesting the unions and also Grant Shapps that rather than going along on television screens trying to protect Boris Johnson, what you should be doing is getting around the table with those with RMT and other unions.
I'm going to push you on this. If that doesn't happen,
deal.
Would Labour back an RMT strike?
Look, we're not in favour of what the government is proposing, which is legislation
to
crack
the
down. So, yeah, what we're saying is that in terms of the RMT, they have got every right to strike, but that's not the desired solution as far as the Labour Party is concerned. So we want them to work out a deal. However, if these diversionary tactics of the government potentially initiating legislation on this and stopping somebody from striking, we're not living in a tinpot dictatorship. We need to make sure that everybody has a right to freedom of speech and freedom to protest and strike.
OK, Danny?
Well, they've got freedom to protest and strike. I'm just against them doing it. Yeah, but you've also got to speak on behalf of the people who travel on the rails. This basically involves what you're suggesting is that we take taxpayers' money from something else, right, to spend it on increasing the salary of people who work in the railways or employing more people to work on the railways, and that we'll then almost certainly have an increase in other people's rail prices. So this is taking the side of the people who work in the railways against the people who travel on them. And there are a lot of people who travel on them. If I was persuaded that there was a serious issue of targeted injustice that only afflicted the people who worked in the rail industry as opposed to the whole country, I could be persuaded that the government was in the wrong position and that they needed to respond generously to the protests of the workers. I'm not persuaded by that. In fact, you have to search really hard in articles about this strike to find out what it is they're striking about. And it's difficult to get Mick Lynch to even say what that is. I would like a bit of precision as to what it is that would take to settle this strike before it even happened. So I think it's very unfortunate that Labour is not able to be firmer on this, and I'd love to see them do that.
We are firm. We're saying that there needs to be a negotiated settlement. But, as I've said, if there are huge cuts to services, to safety and maintenance checks, and a lot of those workers, the members of the RMT, if they are being told that they're either going to be made redundant or there's going to be voluntary severances, etc., then obviously they are going to be very, very perturbed and concerned regarding that.
OK, I think, Tan, I'm going to summarise this as Labour keeping the door open and allowing the RMT to potentially strike if they want to. Unless you challenge that, we're going to move on. We're going to move on.